let's get some more on what we can expect the leadership candidates to perhaps do when it comes to the cost of living crisis. I'm joined by the supporter of Rishi Sunak, Theresa Villiers, this morning. Theresa Villiers, thank you so much for coming in this morning. So you will have seen the numbers that have come out from Cornwall Insight yesterday. Rishi Sunak said he's promising hundreds of pounds more. Is that enough?
Rishi's determined, if he's Prime Minister, to do as much as he can to help people through what is a crisis around the world with energy bills. I mean, sadly, no government can insulate everyone from all these costs, but Rishi certainly recognises that we need to do more, and he's already said we should suspend VAT on energy bills. He was already the Chancellor responsible for the 37 billion package, but yes, further payments are likely to be needed.
Yeah, and sort of to what cost will that be? How much more do you think people can actually expect to get? Because there is some reporting this morning that the shortfall that many will have when the energy price goes up is some £1,600. So there's going to be a lot more money needed, isn't there?
It's already the case that around 8 million households are going to get £1,200 under the package Rishi's already put in place in his former role as Chancellor. I think we need to wait and see what the regulator comes out with in terms of the energy price cap. But I know that Rishi believes clearly that we do need to do more to help.
Yeah, I mean, wait until the 26th of August. You know there are calls for Rishi and for Liz and for Boris Johnson and the Chancellor perhaps to sit around the table and try and work something out now. Because it's anxiety that people are dealing with, isn't it? They don't know what their bills are going to be in a few weeks' time, and that's really making people feel very worried indeed.
Inevitably, this is hitting virtually everyone, and I want people to be reassured that these payments, the big package, the 37 billion package, is starting to be delivered to people's bank accounts now, and those energy discounts will be kicking in from October. And Rishi, if he wins, has said that this VAT suspension will apply as soon as possible. So help is on the way, but I think it is important to recognise that we will need to do more.
I mean, the problem with that VAT suspension is that Rishi Sunak himself said back in February it would disproportionately benefit the wealthy. I mean, does he regret saying that now that he's saying that's his big idea?
He's been pragmatic on this. This is a change that could be introduced right away, and it's still more targeted than some of the very big tax cuts for higher earners that his opponent wants to introduce instead.
I mean, one of the big plans that we heard from Sir Ed Davey just recently was to not bring the price cap in at all and make the energy companies absorb the cost. Is that an idea that Rishi Sunak would be in favour of?
Well, he's already been responsible for additional taxation on the big oil companies, and I'm sure looking at these matters to see if the oil and energy companies can contribute more is something that we should seriously consider. I think it is important to ensure that the tax system still encourages those companies to invest, because, of course, that's crucial for our energy security in the future.
So they're not paying enough in tax, are they? Because there's a reporting this morning there's going to be a meeting held between the Chancellor and the Business Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, and Nadhim Zahawi with those big energy companies to look at that windfall tax to see whether the loopholes that Rishi put in to ensure investment can actually be taken out to make sure that we get more revenue from them.
Well, the big oil companies are already subjected to additional taxation, additional corporation tax, and the additional taxation announced by Rishi previously. But yes, we do need to look at the huge levels of corporate income which are being experienced at the moment to see if those companies can play a part in further help for their customers who are suffering.
I mean, morally, do you think they are paying enough tax, and do you think that the fact that they are reaping so much in revenue at this time, this particular time in history, is that right? How should families be feeling about that, do you think?
Well, we've already intervened to ensure that the big oil companies do pay more tax. I think we need to take care that we don't disincentivise vital investment, which is the long-term solution to getting energy costs down and ensuring our energy security. But yes, of course, we need to take seriously whether the power companies and the energy companies could play a bigger part in helping their customers at what is an incredibly difficult time.
I mean, apart from maybe taxing them more and looking at their revenues, what other parts do you think they could play in helping customers?
Well, certainly they should be doing all they can to ensure that their customers are getting the best rate, that they're understanding about people who have difficulties paying,
What about this idea of a social tariff, so it really is as low as possible? I think the idea may even be that that tariff is slightly subsidised to make sure that the people on the lowest income do not get hit by these huge rises.
It's already the case that everyone's going to be getting discounts on their energy bill thanks to the 37 billion package, which is already in place.
OK, let's just focus a little bit on the campaign for leadership by Rishi Sunak. Now, Chris Skidmore, as you know, was a Rishi Sunak supporter. You've now switched over to Liz Truss. I mean, what does that tell us about the way that Rishi is cutting through with people?
Inevitably, MPs change their minds during these contests.
That's what he's not hearing the right things, then, is he?
That's very clear.
Because what's led him to change his mind? It's not like Rishi's had a terrible campaign. I mean,
not at all. Rishi has the right plan for the economy. We're heading into a really serious situation as a country, and our first priority has to be to tackle inflation. Yeah. Rishi is the person with a plan to do that. That's why I'm backing him, and that's, I talk every day to Conservative Party members. He's got a huge amount of support, and he has got the right plan for our economy.
Well, maybe we should talk more to Chris Skidmore. Let's look at the latest polling on Rishi versus Liz Truss. I think we can bring it up here. 22%. I mean, that is a huge gap. This is the most recent that we have, and that gap just seems to be widening. So you're talking to members every day. I guess you didn't speak to Mr. Skidmore because he's changed his mind.
As I say, MPs change their minds in these contests all the time. It's a routine part of every Conservative leadership election contest there's ever been. But Rishi had a tremendously good hustings in Darlington last night. In the Sky hustings, he won over that audience. He's getting a tremendous reception on the ground. He's campaigning to win. OK, I'm
glad you brought up the hustings last night. So we do have a clip I want to play to you from the hustings last night. Here he is, Rishi Sunak. He said last night... let's have a listen to it. Sorry, I'm told that we do actually have it. Let's have a listen to it.
But it's also why I want to stand up to this lefty woke culture that seems to want to cancel our histories, our values and our women.
We won't go into the lefty woke culture thing, because I think that was going to take us down a rabbit hole, but this idea of standing up for our women, does that sit right with you? What's he talking about there?
Standing up for?
Our women. What is this our women that he's talking about?
I think he's just taking on this debate about, biological sex. We've got to respect that a woman is a woman, and women-only spaces need to be defended. Women's rights were hard won over many years, and they shouldn't be jeopardised.
So you're very happy with that kind of language, even though it might be alienating to some parts of the constituency?
We need to ensure that everyone is respected, their approach is respected, but it is the case that women's sport, women-only spaces, should be protected.
I mean, the Sky leadership debate, where he did, as you say, win over the crowd, he did also say that he abstained from every major vote on abortion because he wasn't around him. He doesn't seem much like an ally of women if he's not voting in abortion debates.
But he's clear that he supports the current law on abortion.
Let's just show you one more thing about this issue. This is not specifically with Rishi, but I do want to get your perspective on it. This has come up on a NHS Wales website. This is a website about periods, and the women and girls has been removed, and it's about young people who bleed. I mean, your reaction to that women and girls have been removed from a website that is promoting information about periods?
Well, I think it's wrong to remove terms like women and girls from these kinds of websites. I don't think that the reference to young people who bleed is appropriate. We can't be in a situation where terms like women, mother, girls are removed from our discourse.
I mean, you recognise the fact that the idea is to be as inclusive as possible. What are your concerns about having those words removed, as we're seeing in many instances?
Well, I think it just doesn't reflect reality. We need to... it's vitally important that we address issues around, for example, the menopause, around motherhood, and that means using appropriate terminology, including female, women, mother, and these kind of terms.
OK. Theresa Villiers, supporter of Rishi Sunak. Really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.